I'm really hard on myself. I constantly wonder why people trust me with the projects they do. I look at the incredibly talented people I compete against for jobs, and I definitely have imposter syndrome. It's something that keeps me up at night, wondering if I'll be found out. I should probably see someone for help with that. And then I woke up in the middle of the night last night at 3 a.m. thinking about a work project that I'm working on, a commercial project, and it makes me think I need help. But then, thinking about it at 3 a.m., I finally cracked it. I saw it. I saw what I needed to do on the project at 3 a.m. And that addresses another question I constantly roll around in my head at 3 a.m., and that is, why do I call myself a director and not a videographer? What is a director? Does what I make look legit? Do the short films I make look legit, or do they seem like a bad college film made with my bros? These thoughts literally keep me up at night, and I probably need help. But I do know that it's the story that makes a film, and that this YouTube obsession with cinematography and color grading and tips and tricks is incredibly misguided. So this is the best answer I came up with last night to that question of what is the difference between a director and a videographer. And keep in mind, this is my brain at 3 a.m. It's this: a director can see the film before they even start shooting. They can play it entirely in their head, and a videographer can only see it when they're done. It's the difference of creating actively versus passively, or doing things because they fulfill a vision that is stuck in your head versus capturing something that someone asks you to and asking, is this what you wanted? For me as a director, I'm completely aimless, underwater, struggling until I can see the complete piece in my head from start to finish, until I can literally watch it. Meditate on it until you see it. It's a moment of clarity. And if you pretend to be a director, which I have in the past, and you don't see it, and your art department does something random over here, and your wardrobe department does something weird over here, and your cinematographer is doing something crazy stylized, it's not going to come together, and your team is going to start disliking you for a lack of vision. But when you see it, you share it with your team, you share it with your cinematographer, with your art department, with your wardrobe, everybody, even if those people are yourself, which for most of my short films is me. Those departments are with you, they're in sync, they're alongside you, knowing exactly where their puzzle piece fits. And if they don't know exactly, you can watch the movie in your head, you can play it back, you can see the piece you're trying to create and instruct them on what you need. And as a commercial director, which I am mostly, even though it's a lot more prescriptive, you still have to see it within the confines of what you've been given. You still have to make it happen. You still have to have a vision and execute it. And then you chase that and you sell that through to your client. And how do you start to see it? You just have to be quiet, to meditate, to let it form in your head. And at first, it'll probably be bad. But the more you think about it, the more you don't accept the first level thought that comes into your head. And the more you work on it, the better it'll become, the more interesting it'll become. It'll slowly form. And before you know it, you can confidently call yourself a creative, maybe even a director. And that's something I still struggle to call myself. But I have to, even if it's a bit imposter, have to own it and start doing it. Of course, there are exceptions to this, and I'd love to hear arguments against it. I'm just always trying to learn, trying to figure stuff out at 3 a.m. But I do know that there is cinematic video shot at 24 frames per second on anamorphics. And I also know there is great film shot on an iPhone at 30 frames per second. And you could call the former a vision, even though it's just a collection of technical details. But the second, a film, a piece of art, a creative work, only works if it makes sense and tells a story. Just don't fall for the trap of, I like to wing it, or we'll find it on set. Even if you can incredibly confidently say that and make people believe you. Because in the end, the time you should have spent on figuring it out beforehand will be doubled in the edit, will be doubled in post. And then tripled, laying awake at 3 a.m., kicking yourself for not getting this one shot that would have made it all make sense, that you should have thought of 3 weeks ago at 3 in the morning.